this point, we've walked out all of our lifting guy lines. We've got all of our eyelets onto our locking carabiner, which is attached to the top of the gin pole via the rocker plate. So now the last thing to do is tighten down our locking carabiner. And we just want to hand tighten this. And now we're ready to walk out our side and rear guy lines.
Okay, so now we're ready to roll out our side guy wires to our side anchor points. And at this point, it's really important to make sure that you're not crossing any of your guy wire cables. If you happen to get your side guy wire cable on top of your lifter guy wires, when raising the tower, you are going to have to stop to loosen the guy wires because of tangling issues. So in order to get the side guys out to the anchor points in a hand over hand motion, just like we've done throughout the day, you're going to unravel your guy wire. So now that we have our side guy walked out to our side anchor points, the first thing we're going to do is install our thimble onto our eyelet of our first anchor point, which is meant for the first two levels of guy wire. So we'll take our thimble, pry it open with our fingers, and attach it to our eyelet, and simply pull it back to its original form. We'll then take our guy wire and loop it through our eyelet, leaving a good bit of slack in the sides. The side guy wires tend to tighten during raising, so it's really important to keep those somewhat slacked in the beginning. So now that we have our guy wire attached through our thimble, we can tighten it to the guy wire with our wire nuts. So the important thing about installing a wire nut is what they say, never saddle a dead horse. So it's really important that the saddle of the wire clip does not straddle the dead end of the wire clip. So as you can see, the saddle is on the live end, the end of the wire that's attached to the actual tower. So we're going to install 3 wire clips per guy wire, but before raising the tower, we'd like to leave the top 2 guy clips somewhat loose and tighten the bottom clip.
Alright, so we've got all of our guy wires here hooked up to our anchor points. With our closer anchor point, we've got our 20 and 40 foot guy line, and then with the anchor point that's further away from the tower, we've attached our 60 and 75 foot guy wires. We've estimated about how much slack we're gonna need to get up to the tower, but we realized that we're gonna have to adjust that as we're raising the tower. So we've got 3 of these wire clips on each guy wire, with the closest one being tightened down, and we're going to leave these top 2 loose so that we can adjust on the fly easily. Alright, so now we've got all of our side guy wires laid out, we've got our lifting guy wires laid out. The final step is to attach our rear guy wires. So wire management becomes really important here. We want to make sure that these are underneath all of the other wires that we cross. Make sure that these are on the bottom, so when we pull the tower up, we don't get our guy wires crossed and tangled. So what I'm going to do is roll this guy line out to our side anchor point and mark that distance, and then I'm going to walk that to our rear anchor point so that when the tower comes up, we've got a pretty good estimate of how taut this guy wire needs to be. guess just let it roll. We'll edit this part out. Alright, so we've walked out our rear, our uphill guy wire for the 20-foot guy wire point, and we've got it set onto our lower of the two anchors, the anchor closest to the tower, and just fed it through a thimble, just like our side guy wires. And now we're gonna tighten this up, clip it with a wire clip, keep it tight, and then we're gonna repeat that process for the other 3 levels of guy wires moving up the tower. So our lower 2 guy wires will be attached to this anchor point closest to the tower, and our upper 2 guy wires will be attached to this anchor point further back. Alright, so now we've got all of our rear or uphill guy wires attached. We've got 3 wire nuts on, or wire clips on each guy wire. We've tightened up this bottom one really tight so it'll hold, but understand that we'll probably have to adjust it when it gets up, so we've left the other 2 wire clips on each guy wire loose. Yeah, so the next step will be to start raising the tower.
So before we raise the gin pole, we're going to secure 2 yellow ropes to each side of the gin pole. So when we raise it, it stays in a vertical and straight fashion. In order to do that, we're going to tie what's called a bowline knot. And it's really simple. As you can see, take your rope, make a little half hitch, just like that. Pull your tail end through the carabiner and through the hitch, and then simply pull, and you have a bowline. And we'll walk our guy wire, side safety wire, out to our anchor point. And we'll tie what's called a trucker's hitch. Same idea. Take a half hitch, pull your loop through, and then we'll attach our safety wire to our bottom anchor point. Take our loose end, insert it through our loop, pull all of our slack out, and get it fairly tight. And then we'll pinch our hitch, pull our rope through, and then take a bite and send that through. And we have ourselves a trucker's hitch. So the great thing about a trucker's hitch is that you can adjust tension on it fairly easily. You can let slack out and tie another hitch, or you can take slack in and tie a hitch. So it's a great knot for multi-purpose use. Now we'll go ahead and do our other side safety guy, and we'll be ready to raise the tower.